Welcome back everyone. In this video, we will be covering the remaining two methods of solving quadratic equations. The first is factorization, and the second is using sums and products of roots. We'll go through each of these, and then we'll run through some examples as well. A word of warning before we begin is that although this method works for all quadratic equations and all polynomials, we can't always use this method to find explicit roots for every problem that we face. You'll see why in a second. But first, why does this work? It works due to the fundamental theorem of algebra. Now this is a pretty important theorem on which a large chunk of number theory is based on. I'm sharing it for everyone's information, but you don't have to know this for the exam. It basically says that for every nth degree polynomial, there exists n complex roots. Here, polynomial means any expression which contains variables or unknowns with coefficients. And complex just refers to complex numbers. These are numbers with both a real part and an imaginary part. Imaginary just means any multiple of the square root of -1. All real numbers that you'll see on a number line are a subset of the set of all complex numbers. So by the fundamental theorem of algebra, in plain English, it just means that for every quadratic equation that you see here, ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0, there will always be exactly two roots. And if we extend it a little bit further, even for the equation down here, which has x raised to the power of 5, it will also have exactly 5 roots. At our level, we'll only be dealing with real roots for now. The complex numbers will come later, so we don't have to worry about them for now. Our task today is to be able to look at any quadratic equation to determine whether it has two real roots and to find their values. So first, let's examine what a root really means. A root is any value of x which makes its function equal to 0. So if we have a function here, fx equals to ax squared plus bx plus c, we just want to find the value of x that causes fx to be equal to 0. In other words, we want ax squared plus bx plus c to equal to 0. So by the fundamental theorem of algebra, we know that this quadratic equation will always have two roots. So let's call these roots p and q. And by the definition of a root that we mentioned earlier, we know that fp and fq, if we substitute p and q for x, will cause the equation to become 0. Therefore, a different way of writing our equation can be the following. We can factorize it into x minus p and x minus q, because we know that when x equals to p, or when x equals to q, the equation becomes 0. Writing a quadratic equation in this form is called factorization because we are decomposing it into its factors. Recall that the multiplication of all a value's factors yields the value itself, and that if any of its factors equal to 0, it itself will definitely equal to 0. The tricky part of this method is to be able to recognize what the factors are by looking at the equation and doing a few trial runs. So let's run through a couple of examples. Let's say we've got x squared plus 22x plus 72 equals to 0. Our goal is to find the set of factors that sums to positive 22. So we'll look at the factors of the x squared term first. Here the coefficient is 1, so its factors can only be 1 times 1. Then we look at the constant, which is positive 72, and its factors are as follows: 2 times 36, 4 times 18, 6 times 12, and 8 times 9. So then we just want to find the set of these factors which sum to 22. And we don't really have to bother about the left hand side because both of these factors are equal to 1. So we can just look at the right hand side and find the group that sums to 22, and that's the one circled over there 4 plus 18 will equal to 22, and that is our solution. We can just write these numbers into our brackets over here, and then you'll see when we cross multiply, it yields the original equation, and then after that, we set each bracket to equal to 0 to find what the roots of our equation are. So on the first bracket, x plus 4 equals to 0, so one of our roots is negative 4. And the second bracket, x plus 18 equals to 0, that means the other root is negative 18. Let's try a second example, and this one is a little bit harder. It's not impossible, but I'm showing this so that you can see for yourself that this method can be quite complicated if you have to do multiple rounds of trial and error. So our equation here is 12x squared minus 8x minus 64 equals to 0. Same thing, our goal is to find the set of factors that sums to negative 8. So we look at the left hand side, the coefficient of x squared is 12, so factors of 12 are 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. And on the right hand side, the factors of negative 64 are the following. Take note that for every set of factors that we identify here, the negative can take either value. So for example, we can have negative 1 times 64 or 1 times negative 64, and both of those numbers yield negative 64. So what we do is we have to do a little bit of trial and error, and we have to multiply almost every combination of numbers over here on the left with numbers on the right. So our first run will be 1 times negative 1 and 12 times 64. Insert those into our brackets, and then what we get is 12x squared minus 12x plus 64x minus 64 equals to 12x squared plus 52x minus 64, and that is not the same as our equation, so that isn't a solution. Remember that we have to try every combination of this, so we have to flip the left hand side over. So let's take 1 times 64 and 12 times negative 1 instead into our brackets. So let's put the left hand side the other way around. We'll take 12 times negative 1 and 1 times 64. And what this gives us is 12x squared minus 52x minus 64. Again, that isn't the same as the equation that we have up here, so it is not one of our solutions. So we have to keep repeating these trial and error for every combination of all the sets of factors here until a solution is found. So after doing a bit of trial and error, we'll find out that this combination, 2x plus 4 times 6x minus 16, will give us the same equation as above. So as you can see from this example, it can get a little bit tedious. So generally, this factorization method is useful for simple looking equations. The reason for this is because of that trial and error element of this method. So you guys will need to do some practice and find out what works best for you. If you want to be able to do this method very quickly, it entails a little bit of quick mental math and learning how to prioritize which sets of factors you want to use in your trial and error. An interesting side point is that I actually recently discovered the extension of this method, which works for all numbers, including numbers with square roots and irrational numbers. So if you're interested in finding out the method, you can check out the link below, and just watching the first 15 minutes of this video will be sufficient for you to understand what this method is, which works for all numbers and all equations. So very closely related to the factorization method is the method of sums and products of roots. It's quite a nice follow-on and it's very straightforward. So if we recall from earlier, all quadratic equations can be written as x minus p times x minus q, but they can also be written as ax squared plus bx plus c. These two ways of writing the equations give similar results, so they must be equivalent somehow. So if we try to make them look like each other as much as we can, first let's try expanding the brackets on top. So we expand the brackets, and that gives us x squared minus px minus qx plus pq equals 0. And then we simplify it, x squared minus bracket p plus q close bracket x plus pq equals to 0. And we'll try to compare this against what we have below, which is ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. but there's a coefficient for the x squared term underneath, but there's no coefficient for the x squared term on top. So what do? So we have to remove that coefficient from below. We do this by dividing through by a, so we get x squared plus b over ax plus c over a. Now both of these equations are comparable because they have the same form. The x squared term, the x to the power of 1 term, and the x to the power of 0 term all have similar coefficients. Therefore, if x squared minus p plus qx plus pq equals 0 is equivalent to x squared plus b over ax plus c over a equals 0, then the coefficients must be equivalent too. So b over a is equal to negative p plus q, and c over a should equal to pq. Remember that p and q, when written in this way, are the roots of the equation. In other words, b over a is equal to negative the sum of roots, and c over a is equal to the product of roots. So given any quadratic equation, for example x squared plus mx plus c equals to 0, with roots p and q, then we know that m is equal to negative p plus q, and c is equal to pq. This method of looking at quadratic equations is pretty useful, especially when we already know something about the roots p and q. For example, if we know p is equal to 2q, or if we know p is equal to q plus 3. A note, however, is that we can't use this method to solve the quadratic equations if we don't already know something about p and q, because if we just blindly plug p and q in, you'll get another quadratic equation and it becomes a never-ending loop. So it cannot replace the factorization method, completing the square, or using the quadratic formula. So let's run through an example. X squared plus 9x plus 18 is equal to 0, and let the roots be p and q, and we are given that p is equal to 2q. So using the sum of roots method, we take the coefficient of the x term, 9, and we know that that is equal to the negative of the sum of roots. So it's negative p plus q. We just rearrange to get p equals to negative 9 minus q. We sub in that p is equal to 2q. We move the q over, so we get 3q equals to negative 9, and then we divide through by 3, and we get q equals to negative 3. Since p is equal to 2q, p is equal to 2 times negative 3, and p equals to negative 6. So our roots are negative 6 and negative 3. We can do the same example using the product of roots, so we'll look at the constant term instead. So that's 18 equals to the product of roots pq. So we sub in that p equals to 2q, and we'll get 18 equals to 2q squared. Divide through by 2, and then take the square root to get plus or minus 3. That means p is equal to 2 times plus or minus 3. That means p equals to plus or minus 6. So wait, we've got to do a check here, because there can only be 2 roots to the equation, not 4 as shown here. So let's try plugging in q equals to 3 into our equation above. So 3 squared plus 9 times 3 plus 18 equals to 54. That is not equal to 0. So 3 can't be one of our solutions. So we can eliminate positive 3 and positive 6 from our solution set, and we get q equals to negative 3 and p equals to negative 6. In our second example, let's see how to deal with an equation which has coefficient for the x squared term. And here we are given that p equals to q minus 20. So when we have our equation 2x squared minus 60x plus 250, first we want to try to remove the coefficient of x squared. So we divide everything by 2. That gives us x squared minus 30x plus 125 equals to 0. Then we can use our sums and products of roots. So here I'll use the sum of roots because it's faster. So the coefficient of the x term will be equal to negative the sum of roots. So here the coefficient of the x term is negative 30 equals to negative p plus q. So we just sub in p equals to q minus 20 into that equation, simplify, remove the negative signs, and add the q's inside the bracket, to get 30 equals to 2q minus 20. That gives us 50 equals to 2q when we move the 20 over, and then q will equal to 25. And since p equals to q minus 20, p is equal to 25 minus 20. So p is equal to 5. That's all for today's tutorial. Remember to stay curious and always follow your dreams, and I'll see you in the next video.